Ed Fisher is our managing director of the UK. He is here live. He flew in on, I think it was the first flight that was, what do you call it? But, just come into the country. And he's going to talk about technology with a little bit more verve and a little bit more interest than it deserves. But it's really important technology. What I've discovered is, in the last 6 months is I'm not a cannabis company. I'm a technology company that's growing cannabis. I didn't know that, but that's effectively because without the modern technology, whether it's room management or seed-to-sale tracking, you can't do this business. So Ed, please come on up here. I'll get a glass of beer and sit down.
It's really lovely to see some familiar faces. In fact, it's just lovely to see faces. It's been quite a long time. So thank you for joining us. As James mentioned, I've been asked to speak about the role of tech in the cannabis sector. I'm going to look at this specifically in relation to the UK cannabis market. And I think what you have to kind of ask yourself is, technology for technology's sake is really kind of irrelevant. What problem are you solving? And based on some of the things that you've heard tonight, there are probably 3 specific issues that a would-be cannabis company could solve in the UK if they were technologically enabled. Okay, so the first one, as both Hannah and Mike mentioned, is erratic supply. A population of 66.5 million, anywhere between 1.5 million and 3 million medical patients, and not one single local producer in the whole of the UK. Sure, GW Pharma grows cannabis, but all of those plants go into 2 very specific APIs that aren't relevant for the majority of the medical population. So how do you solve this problem? Well, first of all, you spend 3 years assembling a team of scientists, technologists, distributors, chemists, pharmacists, and then James and I. And then the next thing you need is a forward-thinking island nation with excellent dairy products. And you're pretty much on your way. So the one thing that you have to kind of put into the picture is what Kieran mentioned, and that is, without technology, you're not getting accredited. In order to be accredited, you have to follow 128 separate standard operating procedures every single day. And you're cultivating in a lab-like environment. In short, the handful of companies that win the UK market are not going to have fields of equatorial cannabis that they're importing. Instead, it's going to be indoor, highly regulated. It's going to be digital facilities that connect to the internet, control the environment, and that data feeds in to allow you to accredit yourself. So what follows is there's this logical fallacy where people go, why would you want to start a medical cannabis facility in Guernsey? You could go and start one where the weather's much better. But actually, it's not really about climate. Because it's indoor and it's controlled, climate to a large degree is a less of a factor. You might have loads of sun in Portugal, but your cooling bills are going to be astronomical. So that's just something to bear in mind. The next challenge is product quality. Because medical cannabis fetches very similar price points in developed jurisdictions, what that means is that most good product is actually sold locally, and what's left over gets exported to places like the UK. And good cannabis doesn't just simply come from throwing some seeds in the ground. It's either cloned from a mother plant that's been tested over like 3 or 4 generations, or it's propagated from tissue culture. So at the end of the day, in order to develop good genetics, you need real qualitative evidence from your patients that's going back to your physician. And a way to enable that is through data gathering exercises like mobile apps that patients use, as well as web apps. And that's basically fed back then into your R&D. Okay. The final challenge is service delivery. So patients in the UK at the moment wait several weeks to several months to be able to see a physician. Their prescriptions go missing. When the prescription's finally fulfilled, the product's not in stock. And so at the end of the day, you're losing 50% of your patients before they even get to see a physician. And that brings you on to a conversation about distribution and your clinic model. Most of those problems can actually be solved through technology. And companies that are simply planning to sell their product wholesale are missing out on massive margins because the wholesale price of GMP cannabis is £2 to £3 per gram. the patient's paying anywhere between £8 and £15 per gram. So ideally, you want a distribution model that's a fusion between wholesale as well as direct to patient. And so what that means is advances in telemedicine, public awareness around virtual health. It means that the clinic of tomorrow is virtual. It's not a physical clinic. It automates the patient journey. It takes the onerous task of being vetted by the CQC seriously, and it gets approved. And then it has preconditional logic that allows patients to actually validate themselves before they even see a doctor. So by the time they arrive at a doctor, they're not getting charged for an appointment where they're essentially going to be told, sorry, this isn't relevant to you. And once again, it really helps if you've been there and you've got the T-shirt when it comes to virtual clinic technology. That T-shirt looks suspiciously like our CTO. It's a very strange looking T-shirt. So, in conclusion, remember that if somebody's plan is to grow plants and simply sell them, you're investing in an agricultural commodity. If you're investing in medical cannabis, the clue's actually in the title. You're investing in biopharmaceuticals, R&D, and technology that ultimately will improve millions of lives. Lives like Alfie's, who you heard about tonight. So, yeah, I hope that kind of gives you a sense of how the market functions. I'm happy to take any questions that you may have. Otherwise, I'm going to hand back over to Uncle Jimmy to wrap up the evening.
Oh, thanks, Ed.
Sure.
Yeah, so thank God we have Ed, because I couldn't do any of that. So Ed figures it all out with his IT geniuses, and they've been working very hard now for the last 6 months to build that framework for us.